All right. So we might have a small meeting today, it looks like. And let me look at the questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. And if you guys have, as always, just you can unmute and ask a question or do it in the chat or however you want to do it. And good morning, everybody. It's really good to see you guys. Those of you I can see and those of you I can't see, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Casey has a question. She wrote, I want to make a functional cologne for my husband. He struggles with pretty bad anxiety and fear of social situations. I'm opposite. Haha, I can relate to your husband. So I wanted to include patchouli and cedarwood. I think I answered this on accident last week. I probably didn't realize it was in the thread, but we'll check here. Some good grounding type herbs and scents. What else do you recommend? Also, what do I make the cologne or body spray with? Let's see here. So yeah, I did answer it. I wrote great ideas with patchouli and cedarwood. Yeah, I won't read this whole thing, but basically, I would suggest a solid perfume type of thing where, and I have a link, I have an article on my website for a solid perfume. Essentially what it is, it's going to be kind of like a salve, only it's going to be harder. And then it will also have a higher dilution of the essential oils. And I would even say 10%, even to 15%, as long as you check the phototoxicity of the oils. The reason why that's okay is because when you're using a solid perfume, you're usually using it on really small areas, like behind your ears or on your wrists. And so that's okay if it's like for a very small localized perfume area. The thing is the other thing I talked about this in the answer, was using some kind of a leather. If you can find like a manly leather bracelet, or some men don't like to wear jewelry at all, but if he is okay with that, leather bracelets are amazing for carrying scent and not having it contact the skin. So if he wants to be able to intentionally and consciously smell the scent when he wants to, having a bracelet can be really handy if he likes that. And then I also mentioned a spray, and I also talked about in the answer over here that to make a safe spray for the skin, you can do it my usual way, which is, this is not safe, but it is safe enough. If you ask me, it's how I make our sprays for our house. And that is just to simply add your essential oils at a 2 or 3% dilution. This is assuming that it's going to be misted around and maybe landing on your face, your hair, wherever, your clothing. So 2 to 3% dilution of essential oils is pretty good. I use a tablespoon or so of vodka per 2 ounce spray bottle, and then the rest distilled water. Now, the reason why that is not typically quote unquote safe, like you wouldn't want to sell this, okay, is that you have to remember to shake it up very, very well before you spray it. And also the water, as we know, can harbor mold and bacteria, even if you're using distilled water. So over time, you can get that, the water can be contaminated. So you want to try to use it up within a week or two. And with that said, I've made linen sprays that are a month old and just fine. So never had any problems. But if you want to make it a safe spray, that is, you could actually use this as even a sanitizer, like a hand sanitizer, which would also provide scent for him. You want to use 60% alcohol in your 2 ounce bottle. So that means that you couldn't use an 80 proof alcohol because that's only 40% alcohol, right? So you'd want to use a minimum of 120 proof, and then that would actually make up the entire liquid of the spray. That's going to be really harsh on your skin. So the other thing you could do, and this is where I do use my 190 proof alcohol for these kinds of sprays. Most herbalists will just consider 190 proof, which is 95% alcohol, to be close enough to 100% alcohol that they just go with it. I usually will add a little bit more just to make up for that 5%. But you could add 60% of your spray bottle or 65% be your 190 proof alcohol. And then, you could actually put your essential oils in there, and that much alcohol is actually going to act like a dispersant as well. So it'll solubilize that essential oil into the liquid. So when you shake it, you're still going to need to shake it. I always suggest shaking any kind of liquid substance that has essential oils in it anyways. It's even if it's completely solubilized, but those essential oils will be dispersed. And then what you can do is add some aloe vera gel the rest of the way. And you can add water if you want, if you feel like it's too thick, but honestly, that alcohol is going to be pretty thin. But the aloe vera gel will act as the water portion of that mixture, but it'll soften the harsh effects of the alcohol on your skin. So if you're spritzing it on his skin or adding it, using it as a hand sanitizer, I really like just adding a little bit of aloe gel in there. And I don't really talk about this very much. I usually just go with my super easy, 1 tablespoon of vodka and water and call it good, but that's not for a sanitizer. Okay. And then we're talking perfumes. So this gives you a lot of ideas, I guess. And then as far as essential oils for men generally, and this is obviously, this is a big generalization because a lot of women love these scents too, but men usually like the woodsy scents, the evergreen scents. They like the deeper, smokier scents, like vetiver is a really good one. Sandalwood is good. A lot of men like that. Frankincense is very nice. These kinds of essential oil smells are generally really great. Like Joe loves the smell of cedar wood. Now there's different kinds of cedar woods too. And I know I'm sorry, I'm going on and on here, but cedar wood is one of the most misunderstood essential oils, and it really upsets me when people talk about using cedar wood in a blend, but they don't tell you the Latin name, because there are different genuses of cedar wood that we refer to as cedar wood. So the manly cedar wood that most men really like, Kelly says I look like I'm floating. I was in a business meeting earlier, so I blurred my background, and now I don't know how to fix it. So I'll figure it out, but it is what it is right now. So I'm floating. No. Right. Anyhow, what I was going to say about cedar wood is that the one that men usually like is it's Juniperus virginiana. Okay, that species of plant is going to give you the cedar scent that most of us associate with cedar, like cedar chests and cedar closets and things like this. It's a really beautiful wood scent. Whereas a true cedar, which would be like Cedrus deodara or Cedrus atlantica, those are from trees that grow in generally the Middle East, and they have a sweet scent. They're not really a very woodsy scent. So if you're making a perfume type thing for a man, keep that in mind. And the thing is you can have him smell it. The scents that he likes is going to give you a clue as to what you can put together. Okay, I spent a lot of time on that question, but I love talking about the therapeutic perfumes. It's really cool when you can create a perfume that has therapeutic actions for the person that you're making it for. Number one, it's a pleasure to wear because it smells good. It's a great gift. And number two, it's actually helping, the person. So just some ideas on that. And Paige added in here that frankincense really helped her. Yeah, frankincense is wonderful. Okay. Oh, I forgot we actually answered. And I put the link in the thread, the event thread. So you can get that link to how to make perfumes in that event thread. And by the way, this is an older article. I don't talk about the 60% alcohol in it. I'm just sharing my basic one. Okay, Jen says, there was a question in the community about sugar substitutes, and it got me wondering, number one, can alternative sweeteners like xylitol, erythritol, monk fruit sweetener, and stevia, etc., be used to preserve and extend the shelf life of syrups the same way that honey and sugar cane can? And then the second question is, can sweeteners be combined to decrease the total sugar and carbs, but get a desired taste while still being effective, i.e. preserving in the final recipe? Okay, so this one requires like a food preservation expert, but I will say this, just from the little I know about it, and I understand, because when we preserve foods, I do not like putting all the sugar in either. I just don't. It's too sweet for me. You know how we're supposed to put 50 to 55% sugar or honey into our syrups, our herbal syrups, in order to make them shelf stable and preserve them. That's a lot of sugar. And I don't know if you've tasted those. I just updated the videos in the herbal medicine making basics. And so I did it the right way. And I created all this elderberry syrup with, 50% honey. Oh my gosh, I can't take it. It's way too sweet for me. Joe loves it. He can actually sit there and drink it. And I'm like, no, because I think my body's just very sensitive to the glucose. I don't like sugars at all. And I never eat candy. It's for me, I'm very sensitive to it. And that's just kind of happened over time in my life. So, but as far as preservation goes, sugars, from what I understand about them, they have some kind of a value in the preservation system. So whether it's jams or whether it's, no matter what it is. And I think it has to do with osmosis or some kind of way there's some kind of pressure inside the substance. So you're going to have to do a little more research on this, but I would probably say no, they're not going to act the same. Like if you think about erythritol, monk fruit, xylitol, they're very thin, and stevia is actually a plant that happens to taste sweet. It doesn't have the same capabilities that sugar has in a food substance. So my guess on this would be you can't use them the same way. And this is where, like, when I make a syrup and I make it for myself, which is rare because I don't like all the sugar anyway. I don't even like a little sugar, but I just know in my mind, I'm going to have to refrigerate it. And that's where those freezer jams come in really handy. If you don't want the sugar, make a freezer jam and the freezer preserves it for you. But yeah, that's a really good question. I wish that there were other ways to preserve syrups and make them taste good, but I don't think there are. Yeah, Kelly points out down here in the chat, I don't know if this helps, but I know it does. All of the comments help you guys. And there's never anything that's not helpful, unless it's mean, that's not helpful. But I know you are not supposed to use things other than sugar and honey to feed kombucha and June. Exactly. Well, and the thing is that I'm glad you brought that up, Kelly, because sugar actually has a nutritional value. There's when you think about sugar, there's a definite calories, and it acts on our body nutritionally, whereas other things don't, so I think that's all part of it too. obviously, you know, when we're talking about ferments like kombucha and June, we're talking about microorganisms that go to work to ferment the liquid, but they eat the sugar. That's their food source. That is their source of nutrition. And once in a while, people will throw raisins in their kombucha or their ferments to add some mineral content, to add some, you know, I'm not sure what kind of minerals those little guys like to eat, but I do know that a lot of them love to have, you know, the potassium and the different things that the raisins provide. So I've seen that too. But yeah, the sugar is definitely a food source. So, okay. Linda says, they say that broccoli sprouts have 50 times more sulforaphane than a mature head of broccoli. I'm wondering if the sprouts of different plants with medicinal properties have that same sort of nutrient overload. You guys are really thinking about some hard things this week. And could they be gently dehydrated and tinctured? Have you ever heard of anything like that? It seems like a mature plant would have developed more nutrients and medicinal properties, but the broccoli sprout info made me wonder. Yeah, so this is a really interesting question, and you know, something definitely to consider and think about. If you think about the lifestyle of a plant, you know, it starts out with the seed, and then it sprouts, and then it turns into, you know, a seedling, and then it matures, and then it dies or it goes dormant. So if we think about that entire lifespan, that entire lifestyle, you know, and let's even think dandelion. Let's just use dandelion because I'm going foraging today. I finally have dandelions. No, but you think about the seed. The seed has very little value from the dandelion. I would say that's the one plant part of dandelion that's, you know, not super useful. And then it sprouts. And I don't know how much value a dandelion sprout would have, but I'm sure it's got some. But as it grows, it changes. And the chemical structure of the seedling is going to be very different than from the chemical structure of the sprout. And then as it matures, in the early spring, we see this with the leaves. The leaves are, and even the root, the spring roots of dandelion are sweeter than the fall roots are. And that's because the chemical structure changes as the plant goes through its life cycle. Fall roots are more bitter. Unless I've got that backwards, I'll have to look. I might have that backwards, but I know like inulin is higher in either the spring or the fall, and inulin is really good for your gut health. And I think it actually is what causes it to taste a little sweeter. But dandelion is a great example of this. So I would say, I'm not sure about broccoli, but I would venture to guess that the sulforaphane is probably going to be different in the mature plant. And then there are other chemicals in there as well that are probably going to shift and change too. But when we're dealing with medicinal plants, we just need to understand the actual plant because they're all going to differ. And some plants are pretty consistent across, you know, once they, you know, mature, they're pretty, they stay kind of the same. We just, at that point, we need to know which plant parts to harvest because those are different too, depending on the plant. Okay, I don't know if I even answered that very well, but
I wasn't really expecting like a definitive answer for that. I was really just kind of wondering. And I thought, I wonder if somebody tinctured sprouts with that. I mean, I have no way of testing this stuff, but if they needed sulforaphane for some reason, you know, could they have done that with the sprouts versus, I mean, a plant that's outside in the soil, you know, drawing minerals and nutrients and changing the sunlight into energy. That just seems like a better deal to me. Spending my time on. I was just curious what your thoughts were or anybody else's thoughts were on that one, you know?
It's an interesting question and it's something definitely to, you know, think about for sure. But yeah, I would say my guess is, and broccoli is an excellent example here, that you're going to have some chemical differences and I have no idea what they all are. But yeah, dealing with the medicinal herbs, though, it's good to know about, the little intricacies of harvesting each of them.
Thank you.
Yo, you're welcome. And Cindy says, I was just reading about this, excited to hear more info. Well, I didn't give a whole lot more info. It was pretty limited. Linda says, I wonder, oh, Cindy said, Linda, I wonder if you can dehydrate them and powder them. That's another interesting thought. Very interesting thought. And the question there would be like, chemicals act differently in as well. Like some of them, like a dehydrated food doesn't always keep all of the nutrient values. I mean, this would be, you would almost have to research every single plant and, think about it through its, like find a chemistry expert who can, and I know they're out there. I think like Duke University has a whole botanical area that's, where they get deeply into the science, but it would be really kind of interesting to get there, to do all that. I don't have time. It's like, that requires like a PhD. That requires you getting a PhD and then having the time. Oh my goodness. Carolyn says, oh yeah, she wrote me this in a private chat, and I told her I'd put it in here. I did answer her, by the way. So she says, my mug measures 2 cups of water. I have a tea mesh holder that holds a bit. I try to fill the holder. Was wondering if I can drink the bones tea several times a day. Does it matter how often the body can take 1 tea? Okay, so this is one of those it depends questions. So if you think about the bones tea specifically, this will be a good example. It is filled with mineral-rich diuretic herbs. So they have an effect on our urinary system and our kidneys. So knowing that, and knowing how we all act and need different things, if you are a person who suffers from kidney kinds of complaints and issues, you really need to be very, very careful with a diuretic tea like this, or a bones tea, any kind of a tea that's high in mineral content, because they can affect your kidneys negatively as well as positively, depending on the person. So this is where just kind of being in touch with your body, and if your doctor's told you you have kidney problems, then asking the doctor about that, would it matter or not? Another factor to consider is many people are on blood pressure medications, and along with blood pressure medications, often they're taking a diuretic pill too. So when you start talking about taking a bones tea, is that going to have an interaction with the diuretic pill, right? And this is where, like, making the decision to, if you can, if you're able to safely remove the medications, possibly if your body is in a state where you can do that and your doctor says it's okay, it's better to take the herbs, because if you can like support your bones and your musculoskeletal system using an herbal tea and still have the diuretic effects, wouldn't you rather do that than take a diuretic pill that's probably going to be stripping minerals out of your body? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me. But anyway, and I know this wasn't the question, but the answer to the question in a nutshell, sorry about that, is it can matter how often a body can take 1 tea. It just depends on the person. And I know this too. I think one of my students was taking the bones tea and was experiencing dryness. And that's because the tea does flush water out. So I just told her to maybe cut back on the tea a little bit, or to be sure that for every cup of tea, she's drinking an additional cup of water. Okay, so just be sure you're always replenishing that. And it's so funny, my daughter, you guys know she's in medical school, and they're studying the urinary tract system now. They call it nephrology, or I don't know, something. But we were talking about it, and she was telling me how delicate the system is. And so we were just kind of talking about just one little change in a chemical can make a huge difference in kidney health and wellness. If you're generally a healthy person, I'm sure your body can handle more of the Bones tea. But if you have any kind of issue with kidneys, you probably need to be careful and ask a doctor. But with that said, I mean, unless you're having major problems, I'm sure you could get by with a cup or two a day and be fine. So anyhow, I beat that one with that's a dead horse now. Sorry. Do you guys have any questions or comments about that? Let's see, Kelly says, I'm absolutely in love with the brain boost tea. If I don't stop myself, I'll drink cup after cup all day long. I'm going to turn into an Einstein or something. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I like that brain boost tea too. It's good. And I don't know what's in it right off the top of my head. I should probably look it up, but see, I think it has rosemary in it. And rosemary is an herb that some people can have a reaction to, whether it's blood pressure or it's very energizing, and then other people don't have an effect at all with it. But if it's used as a food, like if you're drinking a cup of tea or a couple of cups of tea, that's more like food use. When you start getting into making a strong herbal infusion and using it for medicinal use, that's another matter. So all things to consider here. It's always good to look at the contraindications of all of the herbs that you're putting into your body. Okay. And then Carolyn goes on to say, would like to try a combination of ashwagandha and rhodiola. Do I have a tea with that combination or something I can suggest? Okay, so I rarely combine those two adaptogens. They're both adaptogen herbs. They both help with your stress levels. They both help your body manage and balance cortisol. They're both really great, but they do different things. Okay, so this is where you can't just say that an herb is an adaptogen and you can use it like all other adaptogens, because they have differing actions. So ashwagandha is excellent for general whole body balance. Okay, it can help with energy, but in the sense that it can help you sleep. Okay. The Latin name for ashwagandha is Withania somnifera. So you can tell by the species name somnifera, som means to go to sleep or rest, that this is an herb that is helpful for relaxation. So I always suggest, you can take ashwagandha all day long, but some people are sensitive to it and should, take it maybe in the evening time before bed or in the afternoon. But ashwagandha is helpful in that way and really great for brain health, and it supports your heart. It's a wonderful plant. And then rhodiola is another adaptogen. Rhodiola is helpful for energy. So what I like to use, if I am working with people who are overly fatigued or have a lot of chronic stress going on, maybe they are experiencing adrenal fatigue, which doctors don't even recognize, but it is a thing. I suggest using adaptogens together like illathero and rhodiola. Those two are very supportive of each other when it comes to gently energizing the body, not like a cup of coffee, but it helps you if you're doing physical activity or mental, if you're highly in a high mental state where you're thinking a lot or you have to concentrate, or if you're just under stress. Those two are really helpful to just keep you from being overextended and feeling super tired. Rhodiola also helps with emotional wellness. So a lot of times you'll find rhodiola in like nutritional supplement blends, because it helps with depression. It helps with, just feeling mentally fatigued. So rhodiola is great. Actually, and here's a little like fun fact about rhodiola. It comes from, I think it's Siberia. It's one of the really cold places in Eastern Europe. and it grows in the mountains. It's a succulent, which is pretty interesting too. But and I don't know which culture is in that area, but whichever culture it is, they give young married couples at their wedding ceremonies rhodiola because it's supposed to help with fertility and also the energy it takes to get the job done, I guess. But anyway, oh, Kelly says, what was the herb I like with rhodiola? I like ilithero. Yeah, that's it. It's Eleutherococcus. I forgot the Latin name of the whole thing, but you'll see Eleutherococcus and then the species name. But I'll call it Eleuthero. All right. So yeah, rhodiola in the morning, ashwaganda in the afternoon. And they're both beautiful and wonderful and safe for most people to take as nice tonics. Debbie says, oh, so I forgot Lydia's question here. Lydia says, for nettles, did I make the spanakopita out of rehydrated nettles and how did it taste and work for you? So no, I didn't. And I actually have not made that recipe. So with that said, I would say that you could rehydrate the nettles. I would be sure that you squeeze the water out of them, okay? Because otherwise they're just going to be too wet. The recipe calls for fresh nettles. And I don't have nettles around where I live. I know I can go to the backside of the mountain and go find them. They do grow back there, but I haven't been, personally, I just will buy my nettles dried. I'm perfectly happy using them that way. I don't want to get stung. And I know people can go gather them, and there are ways you can fold the leaves, so, or fold, part of the plant so they don't sting you. But nettles are so common, and you can buy them almost, freshly dried from local herb farmers. So that is one that I actually kind of ashamed to admit this, but I don't forage it. Debbie says, I can't make it because I'm working, but someone was asking about cleavers. So I thought I would put it here. They want to know if it should be wilted before tincturing. I would like to know if I try to save them, is it best to maybe freeze? And how do I keep them in a state that is useful, since I hear that drying them isn't the best? Okay, so my first question would be, what is your intention for tincturing the cleavers? They're, just like dandelion leaves and chickweed and horsetail and some of these other wonderful plants, they're full of minerals. So if it's the mineral content you want, the nutritional value, from the cleavers, tincturing's not going to be the best way to take that plant. Eating them is literally the best way to take cleavers. With that said, if you want the kidney, benefits or the health benefits from, that act on your urinary system, you will have some of those from a tincture, just not a super great amount. But if you want to tincture them, I would definitely wilt them. I think they're a pretty, fresh herb. I don't know how they are in other areas, but here where I'm at, and we're in a drier place, they don't get really big. And they're very small, and they are kind of a dryish herb, but I've seen other cleavers in other areas and they look really moist. So I just, I can't speak from experience on that one. And then if I try to save them, is it best to maybe freeze them? Yeah. Do you know what? Seriously, freezing herbs, if it's not a juicy herb that's going to go to mush, if it's like a spinachy type herb, I love freezing them. I think freezing is one of the best ways to preserve them. And you can pull them out of the freezer when you're ready to use them, and they've got their nutritional value still, at least most of it. So that's really my favorite. And if anybody else has preservation experience here, go ahead and put your 2 cents in, because, it's funny, all the homesteaders, which I'm one, I consider myself one anyway, even though we don't have a cow. we all have our ideas about food preservation. And the big thing right now that everybody's talking about is preserving eggs. And I always like to think about, the nutrient value, because it differs with all the methods, dehydrating versus freeze drying versus freezing, versus tincturing. It's all very different. Let's see. Okay. Lydia says you do not have to have a cow to have a homestead. I know we have too many chickens. If anybody lives near me and would like some chickens, I shouldn't have gotten chickens last year, and I just couldn't help myself. We ended up getting I think we had 4 or 6 new ones, and they were beautiful. I've got lavender Orpingtons and different ones, and then late in the season last year, right before chicken season was supposed to end, the chick season, I ended up going to the feed store, and there were prairie bluebells, and I'm like, I've always wanted blue eggs. So I got 4 more, and we just have way too many chickens right now. We have 31, and they're little gangsters. They're managing to get out, and I told Joe, I'm like, we have to keep them out of the garden. They cannot go in the garden, and they cannot go in around the medicinal herbs, and they can't be in the backyard. No, they have to stay. So Joe's like running around trying to put new fencing up everywhere. Anyway, Kelly says, would love to know how you all organize all the notes you take from the classes. Oh boy, this is a good question. Something comes up, I know it was in a section of the class, but I have to go through all the pages to find the information. Any hints or tips would be great. I have good news, and then I'd like to actually open this up to the people who are here, because I have a feeling that many of you guys who are here with me right now are way more organized than I am. I am not organized, and I wish I was. If you could see my desk right now, you'd probably cry for me. But anyway, I'm one of those people who kind of likes, I work really well with a little chaos, and I'm not linear. I like think all over the place, which you can probably tell. But anyhow, so yes, organizational hints. But before we talk about this with all of us, I just want to share with you that Jessica Morgan, who's in the tribe, she is, and I'm paying her for this because it's taken her weeks to do this. But she has gone through every single book in the tribe and all of the recipes. And she's she's got 3 different documents. And I'm going to be honest, I don't quite understand all of it yet. I'm going to have to dig into it. But she's got it organized like a Bible concordance, where you'll be able to find anything just with this document. And I'm hoping it's a living document, so that every time we add a new course, we can just put put things where like magic, put things where they need to go. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where there's so much content in there that it's really crazy. So what do you guys think? Do you guys have ideas for how you organize your notes?
I can speak on how I do it.
Okay.
So I actually use Acrobat Pro. It lets me do an advanced search. So all I have to do is, when I do a search for a word that I'm looking for, I show it to the folder of my conflict. I have all of your books in one place. So I take it to that folder, and it searches all the books, and it will tell me what page it's, it shows me the actual page. So I can find them really quickly that way. And then when you have recipes that I know I want to try, I actually, at the time I'm going through the course, I put those in Copy Me That. It's a free app. It's a recipe app, but I keep my herbal stuff in it as well as recipes. And I can search that really quickly as well. So those are the 2 ways that I can search, and I find things, usually I can find things pretty quickly.
Who knew?
If I use the right words.
That's great. So copy me app and
Copy me that.
oh, copy me that. Okay.
Yeah, it's an app.
Wow.
You can have it in your browser or on your phone. So it comes in
Okay.
handy on your phone as well. Sometimes when you're shopping, you can see, what was it that I wanted to pick up? So it's nice to have it. But I use it on my browser mostly, in my browser. So yeah, that's how I
Great.
go.
And then what was the other one? Acrobat?
Yeah, Acrobat. And I think you have to have Pro to do because it does an advanced search.
Okay.
So
Probably beyond me. I wish I was better at the tech. It is so frustrating. Thank you, Pam, so much for sharing that. I have to tell you guys this really fast. This is like kind of it's not really off the topic, but I'm in all these online business groups, or in a couple of them. And so we share information about what kind of businesses we're running and who, just the general demographics of our primary people, and it's so interesting because there's this one young woman, and she was talking about, she does a plant-based diet coaching business. And she was talking about how her people are not tech savvy. And oh, there's Jessica. Anyhow, and I'm like, that's my people. And that's me, because I am one of those people. And I just thought, and this is just a little like personal thing, but do you guys ever feel frustrated with the technology and how hard things are? Like, and Pam, you're amazing to me. People who like know this kind of thing are just like, I'm in awe, because yeah. Kinesis, thank you so much for sharing that. I have those apps and didn't even think to use them. I've never even heard of them. Oh my goodness. All right. Does anybody else have ideas for this? And then I don't know, Jessica, you just came on, but we were just talking about the index system that you're making. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, or if you even can right now. I don't know if you're at work or not, but yeah, we're just talking about, Kelly had asked a question about how to organize all the notes you take from the classes. Yeah, it's hard. Does anybody else want to share? Or
I will humiliate myself. Pam, you're amazing. And I mean, hats off to anybody who gets this stuff. I should have been born like 2 centuries ago. It becomes more and more clear every day. But, for me, I am so old school and I'm so hands-on with things. And I feel like I already spent so much time with the computer, and I'm just falling back to what I was raised with. I think better with a pen in my hand. I have notebooks everywhere, but I realize I am such a mess I've got stuff from just everywhere. So I thought it was really cool. I got this thing, it's called a notebook. And I stole a bunch of like divider thingies in different colors from my husband's office. And I put like teas, syrups, certain I actually had to break recipes apart, because I would be doing this like, I know I heard them talking about this, 3 months ago. And I'm just trying to do things. And I don't even care if I have to hand copy it over. I'm taking a little bit of time. So I have things, for me, this will make sense and I'll be able to find it. Someday I might even alphabetize it so I can actually find it quicker in this ridiculous notebook. But, I had to break it down like that, like recipes things that I know that I would use. And I have Zoom notes. That's a section in the back. So whether it's Ditch the Drugstore or the Tribe right now, I label the date, which group it was. And if there's something I need to copy from that and stick it in my now existing files, they're like 24 hours old now, I'll do that.
Linda,
Mm-hmm.
an app that will you can take a picture of your notes and it will put it into typed form.
Wait a minute,
glad
is
to
this
know
one of
that.
those computer app things? Because
Well,
I
you
will
can
just,
use your phone.
that's even worse. The phone, my phone is like, it's not a flip phone yet. I mean, I did get some, my kids gave me something better and had to show me what to do with that. But I don't know. I think you have to have the interest. Perhaps that's my problem. But no, I appreciate that. Manette and Pam, all of
The
it. I really
memory.
do appreciate it. It's a miracle that I'm on here doing Zoom calls and things like that. I view that as so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's hard. Jessica, what do you think? Do you want to talk about the index?
I can.
Okay.
I'm still chugging away on it, and I'm hoping to be done today. So I have a vacation day from work, so that's what I'm hoping to be done. But it's all, so it'll have all the ingredients and stuff like that will all be in an index by itself, and that'll all be separated by book. And I told Heidi, like, the best way I could think about to do it is kind of like the Bible concordance, where you just shorten the names of the books so that way it looks a little less dense. But then the part that I've really been excited about is the list of all the recipes. So I think the categories I have now are beverages, body care, essential oil blends. I'm scrolling, there's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Food, homesteading skills, infused honeys and syrups, massage oils, miscellaneous, salves, teas, and tinctures.
Yeah, it's going to be so helpful, I think, for all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be really, Jessica, is it going to be a living document too, where like when I add a new class, we can just,
Yeah, that was the plan.
okay,
And so far I have all of the tribe books done. I don't have all your free books done yet, but all the tribe books are
you're
done.
doing the free books too? Wow, okay. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, so that should help us all be organized, I think, and find things quickly and easily, I think. So yeah, so appreciated.
It's been fun. I've kind of felt like in the Matrix when they're just like downloading a course. That's kind of how I feel, just downloading everything.
No. Yeah, like a computer, like down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's it. And see, that is totally beyond me too. So yeah, really so helpful. So helpful. I just put this, you guys, I have lots of notebooks, but they're not organized. Obviously, I do have T sections and things like that. These are just I'm like Linda, I'm best with a pen and a paper. So I just have them all written down. And honestly, a lot of the things that when I formulate something, for what the course is, I'll make them usually, unless it's something really hard like that Nettle spanakopita. But and then I write them down, and so all my stuff is like in writing, which isn't very useful to you guys, right? It's just so yeah. This organization, Jessica, is going to be amazing. One thing I also do is I just put this together. I have protocols written for a lot of different things. Like most people will have like a cold and flu protocol or a protocol for this or that, So I did do this, and I'm really proud of this. I have a notebook that's got ABC tabs, so I can look at different physical things, and then I've got the protocols written out. So, and I'm just starting to get that organized. But yeah, organization. Wow. Great question.
I did want to say though, even though I do most of my work digitally, I do have copies of everything in notebooks in case we don't have computers one day. I do think that it is important to have them, but digitally it's a lot quicker. So that's what I use most of the time, but I do want my backups. So
Yes, that's such a good point. See, and for me, like I'm not sure digitally is even quicker. Like I'm so glad Joe puts the physical notebooks together. He's getting ready to do the next one actually, because I buy them for myself because I can find things in them. And so yeah, I know I'm like you guys. I know that I created a recipe, and I know that I wrote it down somewhere in one of my notebooks, and I know that it's in one of the master classes, but I'm much better at just creating a new formulation off the top of my head, to be quite honest, but that's not super helpful for you guys. Let's see. Yeah, Joe's on the call. He says, Jessica should organize our Dropbox. Are you interested? No. Lydia says, since I'm in my own home, I've been printing everything off and organizing my papers. Good. Jessica says, they laugh at me at work because I have my email all organized based on the department of who sent the email. That's awesome. So you can always find things. I mean, I wish I could be like that. But well, guys, we came to the end of all the questions, and does anybody want to say anything else or have anything else to talk about?
Heidi, I wanted to ask, is the brain boost tea that you were talking about earlier the same as the memory tea?
Donna, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. because of what we were all just talking about. I've made a few of those different teas over the years, and I have a few that are just favorites. And so I'll be quite honest, when I feel like I want to drink a brain boosting tea, I will often just create a new formulation. So, but I can probably guess the herbs that are in it, but it could be the same and it could be different or slightly different, but it's probably got the similar action herbs, if that makes sense. But if you could tell me what they are, maybe I can or tell me where they are. Or maybe
if I was
Jessica.
organized, I can tell you. Thank you.
Oh.
Anyway.
Are you looking at that, Jessica? I don't know if you're able to.
I have them all up right now. So that's what I was looking. You have so far, I'm done with N, putting them all in, but you have over 101 tea recipes. So I would guess that they're probably not the same.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. That's just for the teas. I started the tribe. It's been 3 years ago. And I don't know, I must have that more than that in my notebooks. This is really kind of eye-opening for me too. It's like, and I'm wondering if it's been such a waste of time, because I don't know, I just keep recreating the wheel. But let's see. Kelly says, oh, I'm sorry, Kelly, I missed that. I'll go back and look she asked a question about Nard and valerian. And she goes, I know there's Tulsi, Gotu Kola, and rosemary in the brain boost. That is such a great combination for your brain. Another herb you could add in there is sage. Hi. Hi. Okay. But yeah, sage is really helpful. Just remember it's drying. And let me go look at the question, see if I can find a question on the Nard. And I'm going to refresh this. I think I might just need to refresh it.
I would say definitely it's not a waste of time, because even going through, like, some of the names might be very similar, but the recipes are a little different.
Okay.
So it's nice to be able to go in and be, oh, I have these, but I don't have those, so this will work. So.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing is that some people have contraindications or can't take certain herbs. So yeah, I guess it's not a waste. But, and the other thing too is like when I make blends for, people I work with, like clients and or, some neighbors and things who I'm helping out, like I'll make things specifically for them too, and write those down on paper. So it's just, yeah, getting it all digital would be really great. All right, so Kelly says, I just finished the herbs of the Bible section, had a blend for sleep a while back that had nard in it. It smelled awful. Oh no, we like all the other scents that were in the blend. Does valerian smell even worse? The answer is yes, it does. Yes. Yeah. So if, you don't like nard, you are not going to like valerian at all. But with that said, I had a lady who asked me for a sleep blend that she could diffuse one night, and or several nights. She just wanted it. And so I asked her, well, what kinds of scents do you like? Because obviously, if you're going to sleep in bed, you are not going to want to sit there and smell something stinky, right? It's just not, you're going to be laying there like, oh my gosh, I got to turn this off. This is awful. And yeah. No, you don't want to smell stinkiness when you're going to bed. So anyway, I asked her what kind of smells she liked, and she likes the spices, which I was like, thank goodness, because you can do a lot with spices to cover up heavy scents like valerian, which is what I used for her. And I'll have to see if I can find that recipe, that blend. It's very, very helpful to help you sleep. So if you don't like taking a tincture or a tea, this diffuser blend is wonderful. But I used cardamom and cinnamon and clove and ginger in conjunction with the valerian, which I was trying to use as more of like a base note that could be sort of overpowered by the spices. And I probably actually added some vetiver to that too. But anyhow, yeah, valerian's worse than nard for sure. All right, you guys, are there any other questions or comments or anything else?
I was just gonna say, for my notebooks, I keep one just for lives. And I guess how I keep it organized is I have different notebooks. So then when I try an herbal recipe, that goes in a different notebook. And if I try a cooking recipe, then it goes in a different notebook.
Oh,
And then I have them all numbered as well. So it's like cooking number 1, herbs number 1.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I wish I had that kind of a brain. Boy, I feel inspired, but part of me feels discouraged because I know I would never be able to do this. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really good. I think we got a lot of really good organizational tips here, and I know we're all looking forward to that index. But Jessica, don't make sure, I know you're doing this, but make sure you don't use all of your personal time on it, because you've got babies. Got those sweet little babies. But all right, you guys, I guess we'll sign off then. And I'll see some of you at the chat tonight and for the Ditch the Drugstore, and others of you I'll see next week, I hope. And next week's meeting will be at 4 in the after, for my time, or 7, some of you guys' time, but it'll be the late one. All right, you guys, have a really, really good week, and go forage dandelions and go plant some things. That's what we're working on. It's so fun. Finally, we're outside. So
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
oh, thanks, Manette. Yes, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Bye, guys.